Welcome to the Reducing Insurance Journal, High Value Services Edition. This is a weekly e-journal brought directly to your inbox. To subscribe, visit ridjournal.com. In today's issue, we are going to explore the topic, how to convince a patient to choose you for high-value services such as Veneers. You can listen to us as a podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, or any of your favorite podcasting tools. If you like video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, RID Journal. My name is Ben Tuine, and I'm your host for today's edition. Let's dive straight in. Today is my today's guest, I should say, is my good friend and colleague, Mr. Naren Aruraja. Naren, great to be with you again today.
Hey, Ben, I'm excited to do this episode with you. I think it's going to be a wonderful episode, how to convince a patient to choose you for high-value services such as Veneers.
I think so as well. You know, one of the challenges in practices is, being busy enough, and then a lot report that they're mostly doing prophies, right? They're doing very basic procedures, and they want to build like a certain aspect of the practice, like veneers, implants. So we're very, very excited to hear your feedback on this, and let's dive straight in. So starting with sort of the first question, the most successful practices that I see have sort of a two-pronged approach or strategy. Number one, they continue to build general dentistry and hygiene as part of their practice. Also, second, they focus on a few high-value services and grow revenue from those services year after year. Today, we're going to talk about how to grow specific high-value services, as we mentioned, using the veneer example. So, Naren, you work with 350 plus dental practices. What do you see in this area?
I totally agree with your strategy, your two-pronged strategy, Ben. The most successful practices that we work with definitely also have a strong general dental / hygiene practice, plus they do a few high-value services that the doctor or doctors enjoy. So it gives them both the revenue and the satisfaction, the high-value services, while the hygiene / general dental practice is like the steady machine that keeps running month after month, year after year. So they have lifelong patients. So I think that's an excellent strategy. Now let's switch gears and focus on how do I grow the high-value services? I'll share some kind of high-level insights. Don't do it because everybody else is doing it. Because if you don't enjoy it and you're not really good at it, you shouldn't do it. That's my experience, having worked with lots of doctors. I see some doctors spending like $100,000 getting trained on implants, and then they don't necessarily enjoy it, and they don't really have a marketing strategy to get the number of new patients, and they're frustrated. So you have to A, enjoy it, and then B, you have to have a marketing strategy to get the patients to, come in for those high value services. So on the marketing strategy side, there are two parts. One is you need to attract people. So to attract people, I believe in SEO, because SEO is the most cost effective to get high quality patients. Unlike Google Ads, which can cost 5 to 10 times, it's significantly less costly. And also people trust organic results, right? You go to a professor and ask for his opinion. As a student, you're going to trust that professor because it was not paid for, it's organic, as opposed to ads. We all know it's paid for, so they don't trust it. Mm-hmm. So step one is to kind of dominate Google. Now, dominating Google will help you with general dentistry as well, because you can target keywords related to general dentistry as well as high value dentistry. And of course, we'll do a separate episode on how to do that, like how to dominate Google. The second part of it is understanding the dental buyer's journey. So 90% of patients today, just like for the rest of their life, they rely on Google to find answers. They rely on Google to find answers to do with dentistry. So 90% of them, what they do is they go to Google, type in what they want, and they're looking for the organic results, not for the ads, because they know anybody can buy an ad just by paying some money to Google. So they're looking for the organic results. So that's what 90% of dental patients do today. And so when they do that, then typically what they do is they'll kind of quickly glance at the first or second or third organic result. Whatever catches their eye, they'll click on it. And then if it doesn't catch their eyes, the first 1, 2, 3, then they'll keep glancing, maybe even towards the end of the page, but nobody goes beyond page 1. Once they click on it, the average a patient today spends 90 seconds on a website, specifically that page. So let's say I clicked on a page related to Invisalign or Veneers. I will spend 90 seconds on that page that I saw organically on Google. In that 90 seconds, they're trying to answer 3 questions. Do I like you? Do I trust you? And above all, are you an expert in this particular, line of work? If it's veneers, how many veneer cases have you done? What kind of outcomes have you produced? If it's Invisalign, same question. Are you an expert? So if those 3 questions are answered satisfactory, yes, I like you, I trust you, and yes, you are an expert, there's a good chance your phone is going to ring. Of course, now you have to know how to handle the phone, but that's not necessarily marketing. That's, customer service, relationship building. So I'm not going to get into that. But so really, that's the game, Ben. So first, rank on Google for hundreds of keywords, including high value services. And then when they end up on that link, convince them that you are the right person for them. So they're going to call you.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think you step 2 there in terms of, that whole 90-second realm there. I think you explained that perfectly, but I want to kind of go back to step 1 here, if you don't mind, Naren.
Yeah.
Let's say, excuse me, we're going to pick 3 high value services and dominate those services on Google, which means, you're ranking for each of those services. And let's say it's, for veneers, you're doing 30 plus keywords and phrases related to veneers. How can one specifically do that successfully using that whole Google tool?
That's an excellent question. I'm going to give you a philosophical or a big picture answer. So Google made $209 billion in the fiscal year 2021. And if Google Ads were a country, Google Ads would be the 56th richest country in the world. There'll be 170 countries that are poorer than Google's ad business, meaning they make more money than these entire countries with tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people just to Google Ads. So if I'm the CEO of Google, I want that machine that makes so much money for me to become bigger and bigger. So how do I do that? The way they do that is they make sure that 95% of you, dentists, any business owner, gets no free traffic from Google, and 5% get all the free traffic. So of course, the world is not only full of 5% of the people, it's full of 100% of the people. So the 95% who get no traffic from Google for free have to spend a ton of money on Google Ads to make Google $209 billion. And of course, that number keeps growing every year. So they make it harder and harder to get free traffic from a CEO. So the good news is if you can get free traffic for general dentistry, you can get free traffic for high value services because the algorithm is the same. So I look at it as a holistic thing. So how do I rank for hundreds of keywords? Like every single client we work with, by the end of year 1, they are ranking for 100 or more keywords and phrases on page 1 of Google. We define page 1 as top 10 results. And then by the time year 2, 3 comes along, some of them are ranking for 400 keywords and phrases on page 1, which means they are in the top 5%, maybe even the top 1%. That's why they get so much free traffic and they rank for so many keywords. So I'm going to give you the secret to get into that top 5%. So Google has 6 buckets, and I'm going to name a couple. And if you're getting an A+ in every one of these 6 buckets, and you continue to get better and better and better in these buckets, you get into that top 5%, and then top 4, top 3, top 2, top 1, and then even top 0.5. I mean, think of SAT. I have 2 daughters. One recently went to university, and the other one is, trying to, get into university in a year and a half. So they all do SAT, and, they're not stupid. They know how the system works. If they want to get to the top schools, they have to get a very high SAT score. And SAT is very clear on saying you are in the top, 80th percentile, top 40th percentile, top 99 percentile, or even top 99.9 percentile. So you're in the 1 in the 1,000 kids, right? You're getting such a high score. And if I'm running Harvard or one of the top universities in the US, I'm going to look at them and say, I don't need to do all the work. I know the kid who are in the top 99.9 percentile are going to do well in life. I mean, why? Because Bill Gates has, I think, SAT score of like 1600 or 1590, and all these interesting people had really high SAT scores. So they have historical data to say that, hey, typically, again, doesn't mean it's the only predictor, but it's one of the predictors. Typically, a kid who gets really high scores on SAT will end up doing okay in life, or end up doing well. And of course, these schools want to say, oh, all these famous people came to our school, right? So they are using that as a predictor. So the same thing that Google does. How do you now get into that top 5%? So what we do is, one of those 6 things you want to get an A+ in is NAP, which stands for name, address, phone number, consistency. So you want to have many websites on the internet having the exact same name, up to spaces and punctuation everywhere. So every website that has your business name should have the name the exact same way. Same thing with address. Like Boulevard, if it's written BLVD, then it should be written BLVD. Now, this is a very painstaking process. Why? Because none of these hundreds of websites get paid by you. So they don't have to do anything for you. So somebody has to contact them on your behalf and find out what the issues are and be patient with them, send 17 emails if you have to, and 2 phone calls to get the issue resolved. And of course, the one who persists, gets the bacon. It's like, some people are very famous, but that's because they have a PR machine working on their behalf, making them famous, right? So somebody's doing all the hard work to produce the results that look so simple. Same thing. We have a dedicated NAP team. That's all they do. Similarly, there are 6 teams that you need to have working on all these 6 areas weekly, monthly. And if you keep inching up, so you are in the bottom 10%, you go to the top 80%, and then top 70, top 60, and then top 10, and then top 5. Now you're going to get so much free traffic you don't know what to do with. And this is why that traffic is so much cheaper, because in the long run, you're not paying a cent. Like every time you get somebody from Google Ads, you're giving them $5 every time somebody clicks on it, whether that person even spends 10 seconds on your website or 5 seconds on your website. So, so that's the game. So if you want to dominate for high value services, play the same game. Go to the fundamentals and try to do really well. Now, somebody asked me a question, how many keywords should we rank for? And like you pointed out, Ben, it should be at least 30 or more per high value services. Like sometimes we see 40, 50 keywords. So what are those keywords? Best veneer dentist near me, Veneers, and then the zip code, Veneers, the city name, even the neighboring city name, Veneers gone wrong, Veneers cost. So there'll be all kinds of permutations and combinations of these types of keywords with city, different phrases, different cities, locations, zip codes, etc. And you want to make sure that every one of them, you are like in the top 10, ideally in the top 3. If you do that, you're going to have so many people finding you. Of course, that's only part 1 of the equation, which is step 1. Now, of course, now we have to convince them why they should come to you.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What comes to mind for me is growing up in American Samoa, third world country. We adhere to the United States educational systems and protocols. So we take the SAT and ACT. And as I was learning and studying for those tests, I was specifically told that these tests were written for children that were born and raised in the United States, with everything from language to keywords to how they teach math and things of that nature. So when we study for the SAT, ACT, we spend a lot more time figuring out how to play the game, right? Really trying to take our language and then studying it in English and playing that game. And interestingly, a lot of kids scored pretty high. I never scored really high on the SAT. I think I got 600, 700. I finally ended up at 900, but I never got above 1,000 because I really didn't have all the study resources that are available now. So I think this is kind of the same thing, where you're really studying that whole world of Google and manipulating sort of these search terms and key phrases, keywords, in an effort to find people that are looking for those specific things. So Naren, before we wrap up, I just want to ask, there's so many doctors that you hear that do this whole Google AdWord and SEO type of game on the internet, right, for their own practices. What are some of the mistakes that practice owners make compared to what you're talking about on how to do it right?
Absolutely. So we covered step 1 and I touched on step 2. Step 2 is, that they go on your website and they spend 90 seconds, especially if they come through organic, and how do you convince them to pick up the phone and call? So I'll give you some mistakes around step 2. Okay. A lot of doctors copy other doctors. So they know a famous person and they go to that person's website and they say, oh, I like that guy. Of course, they already are biased because they think he's very famous and he's smart and he's really good at what he does, or she, and they're trying to copy it. But the problem is many of those web pages get zero traffic from Google for free. So
Mhm.
when you copy their techniques, you're also going to get zero copy. Imagine you are a kid sitting next to a kid who's getting 0 out of 100, and you are copying that kid's answers. You're going to get a 0 out of 100, right?
Right.
And remember, this is a winner take all game. 95% of the people get no traffic, and 5% get all the traffic, or 95% of the traffic. So you want to make sure that you are not copying the wrong people. So one of the mistakes is don't copy people just because they are famous as a dentist, because they might not know what they're doing for SEO. Second is, remember I said the three, in step 2, they're trying to answer 3 questions. Go to that page. First of all, see if they are ranking. And then if they are ranking, then go to that page and ask the question, how well are they doing on, answering these questions? They're an expert. So if it's a Veneers page, there should be a lot of before and after cases, ideally with full face pictures, because, patients don't understand dentistry as dentists do. So they don't appreciate mouth or teeth only pictures. So full face pictures show the transformation. Imagine as a patient going to a page where I see 10 full face cases where these 10 people's lives have been transformed. I'm like, wow, I want to go to that person. I'm going to spend $20,000. I would rather give it to that person versus somebody who hasn't done those kind of cases and hasn't produced those results. Also leverage Google reviews. You can show those Google reviews on those pages. You can even have a video explaining how you do things, because now most people make their decision before. Like there's a stat that says that 20 years ago, the car dealers sold you the car. They help you, decide what particular model you want and what features you want. But today, before the patient even walks in, they already know exactly what they want. They know the model, their features, and how much they need to pay for it. So the world has totally changed. So they are making the decision before they talk to you, before they talk to your team member on the phone. So make sure that these Google reviews, these cases are convincing them, influencing them to say, yeah, he's the right person for me. So the mistakes is, of course, they're not doing that. So I have seen hundreds of websites that do a really poor job on a ranking on Google, and also then convincing people that the person that they're looking at is the expert, is likable, et cetera, et cetera. So those are like common mistakes I see. So don't follow the others just because they are good in dentistry. Find people who are good in marketing and follow those people.
That kind of reminds me when I was a kid in high school. American Samoa, most of the kids don't speak very good English, and me growing up with a lawyer and a PhD as parents, English was taught to us before our own native language. So when I take tests, a lot of times the students that don't speak English very well, because our whole educational system in American Samoa is in English, students would sit next to me on purpose so that they can copy my answers. And I realize if they get the same wrong answers as I do, we're both going to get in trouble. So if I didn't know an answer, if I didn't know the answer to a question, I would, guess. And then they would copy it, but before I would turn it in, this student, of course, would turn in, their test. I would erase those answers and pick another one. Funny thing is that sometimes the kids next to me scored higher than I did because my initial guess was right. But you're right, copying other people sometimes doesn't always work.
Yeah, I think we all do that as humans, right? We imitate, but it's good when we are imitating the right people for the right things.
That's right. That's right. Naren, and thank you for elaborating more on the 90 seconds and the 3 things that people look into. I think that's so key and critical for you to kind of, as a practice owner, if you play this game, to focus on the 3 things that people are going to want. If someone wants to learn more about, all these high value services, like what we talked about with Veneers and Invisalign, to target specific to people that are looking for those types of services, what can doctors do to find out where they stand and how to develop a plan in this area?
Absolutely. We will offer a free marketing strategy meeting. It's complimentary. It's a 90-minute meeting. And prior to the meeting, our team will spend 6 hours looking at step 1 and step 2. So step 1, with regards to high value services, are you ranking on Google for 30, 40 keywords for each of those high value services? They'll tell you that, yes or no. How many keywords are you ranking for? What's your position, etc.? What are those keywords? And then B, they'll look at the fundamentals. The reason some people are ranking for 30 or more keywords for Veneers is because they're getting an A in NAP and Lighthouse Go and all these 6 areas. So then they'll analyze each one of those 6 areas and tell you how well or poorly you are doing. Are you in the top 5% or getting an A in all these 6 areas or not? Finally, they'll give you a plan. So the plan is, hey, regardless of whether you're getting a C for NAP and a D for Google Lighthouse Go, this is what needs to happen. And this is what we would do if we were to work with you over the next 12 months to get you an A in all these 6 areas. So you get a plan, you get a report card, and then implement it. Whether you work with us or somebody else, implement it. I can guarantee you before 12 months is out, you should be in the top 5% for all the high value services you're talking about. And finally, step 2, which is the influencing, how do we influence people so they're saying yes? They will also look at it from that point of view. Now, you can't do step 2 till you do step 1, because if nobody's finding you, what are you influencing them on, right? So it's like step 1 is kind of like the most important step. It's like, if the kid doesn't know arithmetic, you're not going to teach them algebra or calculus. It's just not going to work. So there is a format to this. There is a step-by-step approach to this.
No, that's amazing. And I know that one of the best things you can do as a listener is to book this sort of meeting with Naren and his team, the marketing strategy meeting, which I highly recommend, because there's so much value with this marketing strategy meeting to allow doctors to see where they stand and develop a plan moving forward. To book this marketing strategy meeting with Naren and his team, visit ridjournal.com/MSM. Naren, I kind of feel like I'm a student of the game here. I fortunately get to see how the sausage is made behind the scenes, and hearing this topic of marketing, SEO, and all this different strategy. But it's so great to hear you, especially in a public forum like this. I learned so much, a lot of new things every single time that you speak about these things. And I kind of feel like the guests are very fortunate to have you willingly share all this information that you've been able to share on the podcast so far. So we're looking forward to other episodes in the future where we'll elaborate more on these things. But, for our listeners that are out there, if you love what we do here at ridjournal.com, tell your friends, share a review on iTunes or YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe. If you are also a dental speaker or leader in the dental organization, don't forget to check us out at ridexperts.org. Till we meet again, I'm your host, Ben Tuine.